That was an apocalyptic scenario where you could see through a car's rearview mirror a young man dragging a creature toward his leader. Leader Lee ordered him to incinerate all those bodies, which had once been human. The young man then used a mysterious ability to incinerate the corpses. One of the men thanked the presence of some prisoners, saying they were of good quality. With the job done, it was time to leave. However, red rain was falling just like it did 20 years ago. The Star Era 1034 industrial oil base, continuous catastrophes led to the creation of a Pangaea-like continent, and the endless red rains turned most humans into carnivorous predators. This became known as the Red Rain Calamity, in which a minority of humans awakened abilities and were called ability users. They managed to deal with the predators and establish cities. Everything outside the cities became known as the ruins. Back to the present, where they were dealing with these predators. The leader was informed that the job was done. However, he found the predators' strange behavior and the absence of a boss suspicious. The young man complained about the monsters being low level, resulting in mediocre loot. But the leader told them to clean everything up and leave the loot for the Lord. The young man said to leave the cargo to him. They apparently looked very scared, and one of them had even fainted. One of the ability users was trying to take advantage of one of the girls, but at that moment, something fell into his hand. He then looked up to see what it was, and was shocked to see a gigantic mouth. It was a rank 4 mutant, and everyone started running. Abilities from a rank C user were useless against a monster like that. A rank 4 mutant had a certain intelligence and recovery ability. The group then ran toward a garage door. An ability user named Lao raised a barrier to stop his companion from advancing. Despite the leader's complaints, he pushed forward saying he'd return with help from the boss. But what he really wanted was to survive while the creatures were distracted with the others. However, when he opened the garage door, there was another kind of monster inside, which they called a greedy human. It was too late, and he had been caught. The monsters covered his mouth so he wouldn't make a sound. Immediately after, those creatures massacred his body. The young man was left hanging there, completely lifeless. Meanwhile, the leader and his group had also been caught. It was a completely hopeless situation. The creature whispered, "Betrayal, fear, despair, regret, so delicious." But at that moment, a mysterious man said the show was over. Then he said, "True words revived." To him, that was a marvelous show, and he took the opportunity to ask, "How does it feel to watch all your comrades die one by one?" Ihu told him he would never reveal the Lord's location. The lunatic told him he expected more than that, and since he wouldn't get any answers, he'd have to find them himself. With that, he got ready to do something to the young man. Using a scalpel, the sick man pressed the blade against his skin. Ihu was already falling into despair. The lunatic in front of him seemed pleased, saying he would take care of his forehead. Unable to do anything, the only thing Mr. Hugh could do was scream, begging the man to just finish him off. But the mysterious man simply ignored him. He was trying to find something by doing that. And finally, he found what he was looking for. He then used his memory revelation ability, obtaining a location inside an oil industry complex. That was a nostalgic place for him. The scene cut to a building, where someone was listening to melancholic music. The man was apparently working, with lots of blood on his hands. It looked like he was cutting meat. His expression was completely apathetic, and so he continued wielding his axe while listening to that sound. The man then prepared his drill, then told G to hang in there. With great excitement, he told his patient to hold on. The man said the smell was perfect. 3 minutes of boiled eggs. That was his meal, which he said was perfect. And all that red was just tomatoes. While enjoying his meal, he observed something. The man remembered the recipe had been taught to him by someone. He was staring at a photo of an orphanage from the year 1032. His thoughts suddenly turned dark, recalling the terrifying moments at that orphanage. His instructors congratulated him for surviving. Even though he had eliminated all his companions, the instructor then promised to take him away. With a wicked smile, he swore to keep that promise. However, he would take the little boy away to turn him into his perfect weapon. The scientists there conducted experiments on his body by injecting magic pills. They used electricity, and the pain was excruciating. Back in the present, our guy had already finished his meal. His expression had drastically changed after remembering those episodes, and all that blood on his hands. That was the story of his past, of how that lovely little boy became the person he is now. That reality disturbed him deeply. He said that after all this time, they were finally about to meet again. The so-called president who turned him into that monster. The great city of Yanlin. It was the largest city that housed regular humans. The scene cuts to where a little girl greeted her brother Xian, thanking the young man for giving antibiotics to her mother. She wanted to repay him by giving him food, but he gently refused. Due to the girl's insistence, he eventually accepted, and so he enjoyed that rice ball, saying it was very delicious just to please the girl. The girl, very happy, thanked Dr. Ji Xian. After that, she finally said goodbye. Apparently, Cheyenne was being watched from afar by a mysterious group that continued to follow him. Cheyenne had entered public transportation and the group was still on his tail. When his pursuer finally boarded the transport, he realized that his target had vanished. The group then reported to their leader that they had lost the target. The scene cuts to the Ability Administration Center building. Someone had arrived with their ID. It was Cheyenne who got scolded for arriving late. He gave an excuse, but in truth, he had been trying to shake off his pursuers. The girl defended him, telling Lau that it wasn't Guyan's job to be a dispatcher. Lau voiced his concerns about the recent deaths of 5 ability users. The girl asked if this would be the work of a high-level predator. At that moment, a guy appeared saying the director needed Mr. G to report immediately, so our four-eyed friend said goodbye to his group. In the director's office, he wanted to introduce G to someone. The woman wondered if that was G, the one with a 100% success rate team. The director said that Miss Liu would be his superior from now on, and that he needed to add her to his contact list. Liu said there was no need to rush things for now. Before that, she wanted to make a few explanations. Analyzing the bodies, they started deducing the cause of death, how many days had passed, and what weapons were used. Cheyenne concluded that someone caused those deaths out of revenge, but Liu stated that wasn't the case because the victim had no enemies. Ji considered that but requested support to continue the investigation. However, Liu explained that investigating a rank B ability user was problematic. Cheyenne replied that he had no problem risking his life, and that it was an honor for him to serve the Alliance. But Liu said it wasn't necessary since a specialized team was already investigating the case. Still, she said she would stay in touch. As she left the room, our duo said their goodbyes. The scene cuts to a commercial district, where people were out on the streets shopping. The people there noticed a sound. Apparently, it was Black Rose, the city's train attraction. But participating in that attraction costs a lot of money, because it requires 2 hack-type ability users for protection. Since there are serious risks of attack, the scene cuts to where a guy with red gloves was doing something. He had managed to open the door, and asked the woman in front of him if the food was ready, but she didn't reply and remained silent. However, something very bizarre started to happen to her. The woman turned around with a demonic appearance and attacked the man, but our MC easily took care of her. That was the reception area inside the Black Rose train. Even without a head, she began to speak, saying she was verifying. Calling him an honored guest, she welcomed him. But right after that, her head turned into jelly. In front of our guy, a portal opened, and that was the Black Rose train's black market. In that parallel dimension, people could hide their identities while they made deals on the black market. The MC commented that just to search for someone's address costs a year's salary for a high-level ability user. While doing some research, a woman arrived with a plate of food, and even by his standards, that plate looked disgusting. But our MC isn't picky, and at the bottom of the plate, he found some information about a church. Our MC found that extremely ironic. The scene cuts to the next day at Chatham Last Church, where people were doing their prayers, all of them with offerings and wearing hoods. One of them announced that the ceremony had begun and asked for their sacred children to come forward, asking if they were willing to give everything to their Lord. The words in the chorus were humble, pure, and kind. As the ceremony continued, threads began wrapping around the women, but they still hadn't realized what was happening. Eventually, the threads completely enveloped them. Water started to appear on the floor. They no longer seemed to be conscious. The water had already reached their necks. The hooded men said that the Lord had manifested, but now all the girls could see was water. The leader of the chorus said that the holy virgins had entered the Lord's kingdom. However, when the girls noticed, they were already in a desperate situation. But regardless of their state, the ceremony continued, telling everyone to drink and become servants of the Lord. The group seemed to be holding a pot of blood, which came from those imprisoned girls, running through the threads until it reached their posts. In the reflection of that blood, a figure of a man appeared, saying they still had a chance at redemption. The group said their Lord was merciful. Female voices said to drink that, so they could be together for all eternity, in a new world without any suffering. However, the man responded saying that was a beautiful lie. With that, he interrupted the ceremony. The chorus leader sensed the psychic fluctuation. He remembered that ability, asking if the man was still alive. Our surgeon was surprised to be remembered after 16 years. The chorus leader replied that he was an unforgettable child, or rather remembered him as a demonic child. The chorus leader ordered everyone to attack our MC immediately, so they launched their offensive. Our MC responded using his True Words ability, binding all his enemies in threads. Our surgeon said he was impressed, and the chorus leader said those people were nothing compared to him. That bunch of extras was apparently finished, and the chorus leader was the one who had executed them. The MC said it was expected from someone who used his companions as tools. The cult leader replied that they were mere products, made to be used and abused. However, the leader declared that the best tool he had ever used was our MCG. That had made G extremely angry, so he launched his own offensive, fighting the creature the chorus leader had created. He was about to get slapped by the monster, but defended himself using his threads. The cult leader asked if he liked his latest creation, that the moment enemies made a move, they were destined to become corpses. Jess said he was quite impressed. At that moment, the cult leader offered G the chance to return to his side, and G replied that he had no interest in becoming an ugly monster like that. With that, the cult leader said this was his end, and even the most efficient tool is useless if it refuses to be used. The cult leader then told him to disappear. Using his ability, the leader commanded him to vanish from his sight. The monster broke free and lunged at our NC, who dodged and threw a scalpel at his enemy, but the cult leader said that was useless against him, and our MC wondered if that was really true, because in the end, Ja hadn't been aiming directly at him. The scalpel had struck the frame behind him, causing the image of a woman to swell, and then explode, forcing the leader to defend himself. The explosion was massive, even hurling the monster away. The leader was impressed by the cunning of his best student, discovering his location in such a short time. That wasn't news to Ja. His teacher Rickard was a master of hide and seek. There he was, his old professor, Dear Dean. The cultist became furious at how Jay spoke to the professor, but the professor only said, "Let the golem devour." The creature grabbed the cultist while he begged to be spared, and the professor said only the weak beg for their lives. Now Dean said that no one could interrupt them anymore. He wanted to see what his most perfect creation was capable of, and our MC was happy to demonstrate. A battle then began. G used his ability to deal with the golem. However, G couldn't use physical abilities directly on it. His professor confirmed that physical skills truly had no effect on the creature. With that, our MC said it was truly an honor, that he would just avoid using physical abilities. Meanwhile, his professor said he was still acting all tough. The battle kept intensifying more and more. The golem itself began using abilities, firing energy projectiles at Jai, who defended himself using another defensive ability. But that wasn't enough to completely nullify the attack. Seeing that his student was cornered, the professor tried to recruit him once more. Jay thanked him for the offer but refused, explaining that he had once been taught to lure his prey into a certain place, and then destroy it all at once. The professor was in disbelief, wondering if G wasn't still bound by puppet strings, but G reminded him that he himself had cut those strings. With that, the professor realized he had been careless, and the golem was left completely vulnerable. Our NC didn't miss the opportunity to finish it off. An aura had protected G from the explosion. On the other hand, his professor wasn't in good shape. Still, the professor was overjoyed to see the results of his masterpiece, which had reached a Class A psychic level. G was furious upon hearing those words, because if that lunatic hadn't chosen him, his parents would still be alive. But the professor explained that the one responsible was Lord Kian, who gave the order to execute them because his parents knew too much. That was the end for the professor, but he was impressed by his students' curiosity. Unfortunately, those answers G would have to find on his own. As a final act, the professor summoned a Hell's Gate, which guarantees a contract with the user to fulfill their last wish. A massive black dragon emerged from the portal, and the professor ordered the creature to finish off G. Our MC responded by kicking him, then immediately asked the dragon to devour his professor, and for some reason the dragon obeyed and attacked. Our surgeon said he needed him to feel the same pain his parents had felt. The professor was confused, asking how he managed to command the demon. Jai explained that at the moment of the summoning, he had activated Construction, one of his psychic abilities which he used to take control of his opponent's summoning. Our MC made one last offer to his professor, saying he could have peace after death if he revealed the identity of the killer. Unfortunately, the professor refused, saying he could not betray his own master, and with that he took his own life, saying at the end that his master would avenge him. Our MC was now worried about Dreamweaver. Something enormous was forming above him. It was the chained demons, and that was his professor's head, but the figure at the center looked like an imminent threat. That was a hopeless situation, and his instincts told him to just run. Meanwhile, outside the church, a news report was happening. Inside, our hero was fighting for his life. He was somehow dealing with the demons, trapping or wrapping them in his psychic threads. It seemed like our MC had the upper hand for now. The demoness told him to stop resisting and serve Chelsea, but G responded by telling her to shut up because he had a plan. Because he had used Construction, his abilities would begin to weaken, so he had to race against time to get out of that situation. The battle kept intensifying more and more, and the humanoid demoness just stood there watching as her minions attacked. But something caught her attention at that moment. G mocked her for having dominated those creatures. Chelsea was stunned to see her minions being controlled by someone else. Our surgeon explained that he had merely reversed the mind control using psychic abilities. G then taunted her, asking if she was out of power now. Chelsea was furious to hear that from a mere human, saying that such behavior was unforgivable. Ji responded by launching her own demons at her, but the demoness said those monsters were nothing compared to her, and she easily handled the demon that attacked her. A voice in Ji's mind told him to take the chance and run. Our MC didn't want to waste time there. However, the demoness Chelsea wouldn't let him escape. She launched an attack at our MC, and it struck him directly in that moment. That attack could be seen even from outside the church. Ji cried out in excruciating pain, demanding that something get out of his body immediately. Meanwhile, the militia was about to storm the church. Ji took the opportunity to threaten and surrender his body to the militia. The church was finally raided, and that scene caught the group by surprise, because those dead creatures didn't look like predators. The order was to find the life signal and deliver it to the research department. The scene then cut to the city of Santroburg. Someone commented on the appearance of the demoness Chelsea. A figure ordered a subordinate to eliminate that demoness immediately, so the young man obeyed and departed on his mission. The scene then cut to another location where predators had been eliminated. Ji was still worried about the side effects of his construction ability, so it was better for him to stay out of action for a while. With that, he stayed in a safe place, and someone whispered saying that he had finally fallen asleep, while wondering if his slave was finally dreaming. The scene then cuts to a highway, where people were talking about work. The guy driving asked if Gio wanted to play. The boy replied to his father that he did. At that moment, the family heard a noise. It was strange how many crows there were. Gio, scared, hugged the woman. His father was worried the boy might not be okay, but before he could say anything else, an accident happened. You could see fire and sirens. The firefighters had rescued the child from the accident. He was crying hard for his mother and father. That was a vision from Ji's past. In his dreams, he was remembering his childhood, up to the moment he was recruited into the psychic department. The demoness Chelsea told him to disappear along with his dreams, but as she was preparing to attack, something happened. Little did she know that a mental attack has no effect on our MC, because that's his specialty after all. She then thanked the incredible dreams he'd had, promising to give her an easy death. But at that moment, a tear fell onto his scalpel. It was the demoness Chelsea begging to be spared. Our MC found that scene pathetic. A powerful demon now begging for her life. But deep down, he knew she was just pretending. And G said it was a shame she had such a beautiful shell. That really did seem like the end of demoness Chelsea. Then something happened in that place. The area was engulfed in a huge explosion. Chelsea was still standing, surprising our MC. The demoness was furious for having her horn touched, so she charged at him. It looked like the situation had gotten complicated for Jay, but he remembered that Dean's threads could reflect physical attacks. Chelsea was already preparing to strike him again, but Jai had already made his preparations. He then threw a car at the demoness, and with that, she crashed to the ground. Chelsea acted tough, but after using her ability, she had little time left, so she urgently needed to find a new shell. Recognizing G's exceptional energy, the demoness planned to devour him, but she noticed something happening. A devastating attack struck her at that moment. An entity scolded her for revealing her true form, saying it made her easier to find. The big-nosed one sent the demoness flying. The mysterious figure was surprised that Chelsea was so weak, since she used to be one of the top-ranking demons. The green one noticed something strange at that moment. He realized the demoness Chelsea had vanished. Too late, he noticed an attack coming his way, but somehow he managed to barely escape. It was the MC saying the demoness was underestimating her. That was Chelsea, grateful to still be in control of the body. Chelsea warned her opponent that if the body weren't so weak, he'd already be done for. Her enemy got irritated and grabbed his whip. He refused to be looked down on by someone in exile, and told her that now was the time to die. With that, the demon lunged at Jay and Chelsea, but was immediately repelled with ease. Jay complained about unbearable pain in his head, demanding that the demoness Chelsea leave his body immediately. The green one gave them no time to talk and charged again, but this time he was repelled by an ice ability. That was one of Chelsea's abilities. She mocked her opponent for being unable to defeat her even while she was injured. The pointy-eared demon was trapped, but it seemed like G and the possessing demoness were caught in an internal conflict. Noticing this, the pointy-eared one said the situation was ridiculous. So without wasting time, he took the opportunity to try and finish them. The possessing demoness was furious at Jai, but due to the situation, she preferred to lend her power to our MC. The opponent, realizing what was going on, rushed to attack them. Jai got excited to test out the demoness's powers, so he used her demonic chains to attack the opponent. Chelsea asked what he thought of her powers. While the two talked, the pointy-eared one regretted having to use his last resort, so he unleashed what he called his Lord's power, thus gaining a massive power boost. Externally, the demon seemed to be evolving into another form, just simply told his opponent that he was going to lose either way. Even though he had an absurd power boost, the green guy was truly powerful, and he appeared behind our MC, catching him by surprise, managing to land a direct hit, slamming his opponent's head into the ground. The pointy-eared one was impressed to have defeated the enemy with just one blow, so he prepared to take his body, but at that moment, something hit him. The pointy-eared one was in disbelief at what had just happened. Our deadly surgeon had counterattacked. Chelsea was impressed that he had used her powers without even having a contract, saying it was a great decision to lend his body to her. Our demonized MC prepared to finish off his enemy. Materializing a demonic serpent, he then struck, and blood flew everywhere. He had devoured his opponent. With that, Chelsea had regained a bit of her power. However, G's body was already at its limit, and Chelsea said she had no choice but to save him, so she prepared to perform an ability, while telling our MC to be grateful. But suddenly, he saw a vision before him, wondering if he had become the demoness Chelsea herself. But that wasn't the case. Those were Chelsea's memories. In an apocalyptic setting where she was called a traitor, our surgeon was completely confused. A massive ray of light from the sky struck the ground. A demon said that was the eye, and because of it, he could escape hell. All the demons there fought to reach the location first. Then someone said that since everyone wanted that thing so badly, she would take it for herself. Then Chelsea, with a demonic scythe, prepared to strike. But before the outcome, our MC woke up. In front of him, demoness Chelsea asked if he was awake. Still confused, he asked what she had done. Chelsea replied that this empress had saved his life, and because of the rule of cosmic power, they couldn't attack each other, since now the two of them were connected. Jess said he realized it hadn't been a dream, saying that she fled to the human world because she was about to be executed in the demon world. Chelsea argued that she had to fight over 200 demons for several days. Amazingly, the demoness was hungry, and Chelsea explained it was due to the rules of the human world. She noticed a mark on his chest, so without wasting time, he asked what she was planning. With an air of mystery, she simply asked him to be quiet. But she decided to explain that that number was something all top-ranking demons possessed. Chelsea's number was 1. She said she had to consume the other ranked demons to restore her memories. She realized that the demon potion was the same one Diane had used. Realizing he needed help, he asked what would happen to him if the two of them formed a contract. Chelsea had also regained her memories and said she was willing to help him get revenge for his parents, but for that he had to help her rise to the top of the rankings. Jay agreed but said the contract needed to be adjusted. No arbitrary orders or possession, but Chelsea wasn't very happy about that, saying that with those changes he could die. Chelsea had no choice as she had used her last connection resource, so the two agreed on the new contract. Our duo then prepared to seal the contract, and with that, a great beam of light hit the ground. The contract had been sealed, and Chelsea went to rest on our MC's shoulders in a very cute form. The scene then cut to another place in a building, where an organization was on high alert due to the many demon sightings, so they were getting ready to take action. A girl said they were already running out of time. In another desert-like area, there was a demon with wings, apparently feeding on another demon, slowly absorbing its powers, but then something hit him dead on. The predator had been run over by a truck. They were discussing how these demons were self-annihilating, and the MC was amazed that demons were terrorizing even the predators. Jai asked what he thought about these monsters that weren't predators. Then his colleague updated him with the news about the demon sightings. His uncle said they were being called sadists. The two continued their travels, talking about the future of their business. But at that moment, something hit the truck in front of them. His uncle became fully alert and got out of the truck. The rest of the group went over to see what had happened. She was frightened by something he had just seen. A demon was charging at their group, but his uncle used a powerful ability, and he asked for the injured to be taken out of there immediately. The demon wasn't finished yet, but just as it was about to attack the uncle, something hit it. Joe is praised for such remarkable skill. The other guy told Uncle Lee to look in another direction, where several demons, which they called sadists, were standing by. A symphony of roars could be heard. That was a psychic intimidation ability. Our dynamic duo took the opportunity to test their powers, while the rest of the group thought they were finished. But someone reassured them, saying everything would be alright. The group was impressed by the young man's abilities. Jet told the group to leave things to him from now on. The group of demons realized that Human was powerful, so they decided to run away. But our teen wouldn't let that happen. Jet fired his demonic chains toward the horde of demons, and the chain was just about to hit its target. The attack had been brutal, smashing the enemy into the ground. The monster was destroyed on the floor. Our cute demoness asked G to feed her next time, but reinforcements had already arrived at the scene. Our MC's group sighed in relief. The officer in that team asked if he was okay. Jia thanked Miss Liu for showing up there, and tried to stop Uncle Lee from saying anything about his abilities. Liu's subordinates said they had captured one of the demons. Liu seemed like she wanted to finish her conversation with Jia, but there were too many people around. While she touched him, something happened. They were both teleported to another location. It was a psychic ability called Space Jump, so Liu asked if they could have a talk there. For some reason, she knew Jai had made a contract with the demon. Because of that, Chelsea asked if he wanted her to kill her. but he wanted to see how the situation would play out. She mentioned an organization called Heaven's Wraith, formed by powerful individuals with psychic abilities. Miss Lu was inviting him to this organization. He was surprised that Lu was part of this group. He refused, but Lu tried to persuade him, saying that Ji would gain access to 95% of the cities and have the opportunity to increase both his and the demon's power. Our MC was curious about what would happen if he kept refusing, asking if she planned to imprison him in that case. She replied that those who sign demonic contracts either join the organization or are exterminated. At that moment, Ji let out a wicked laugh, freeing himself from those bindings as if they were nothing. He confirmed that he had signed a demonic contract and was willing to join Heaven's Wraith. However, he wanted access to the information the organization possessed. Lu finally realized that the contracted demon was extremely powerful, but for some reason she was very happy about that. With that, the two began a conversation about the origin of demons. The organization didn't know much about their origin, but for some reason they were able to suppress the predators. Jai asked her why the public couldn't know they were demons, and she replied that she didn't want to cause panic. For Chelsea, it wasn't surprising that Manhwas liked to keep secrets. She then thanked Lu and hoped for good cooperation between them in the future. But he avoided a handshake, telling her not to disappoint from now on. Lu said she would book a flight for Ji at 8 a.m. the next day. With that, our MC would be able to meet the rest of the organization's team. Later, at home while cooking dinner, someone was behind him. It was his partner struggling to use human inventions. The problem was, she had gone to complain completely naked, and Ji, wasting no time, went to the bathroom to check the mess. Chelsea had made a total mess in the bathroom. At that moment, he realized he had left her alone in the kitchen, so he rushed to see if she had done something, but his partner was just tasting the food. At that moment, she realized Ji was furious, because she had just eaten his food. The two then started arguing over food. The next day, in another location, Miss Lu welcomed Jai, asking why he looked so tired. Our MC explained he had to deal with a pest. Without wasting time, she said it was time to go. The organization's base was in the city of Sanderberg, a city with the highest level of defense, and the way the entries and exits were structured could restrict Heaven's Wraith's operations. Lu said she would show the interior to Jai, and with that, the two took the elevator down. Our surgeon received a pass for his room. The base was divided into 5 floors. They were heading to the testing floor to assess Ji's psychic and physical abilities. Lu was quite respectful with her subordinates. The location was really catching Ji's attention, and Lu says she can leave her companion aside while she heads over there. For some reason, Chelsea really didn't like her. Jai had entered the testing chamber. Then the procedure was initiated. But while she was in there, several danger warnings appeared in front of her. A scientist said her psychic abilities exceeded the equipment's limit, and indeed, that equipment couldn't handle it. That level of spiritual fluctuation was exactly what Lu had been looking for all along. At that moment, our MC casually stepped out of the machine, saying she ended up breaking it. Unfortunately, at the control panel, our surgeon wondered if her psychic level was really rank B. Lu gave a few explanations, saying that mental-type powers have a long-range area of effect, and since her power was rank S, they could finish the rest of the procedures. That's when teleportation was activated, and suddenly they were inside the Heaven's Wraith Research Center. Ji realized right away that this was the reason Lu had invited him, and his companion was worried that they were going to be used as experiments. Lu explained that the equipment originated before the Red Rain calamity, and asked Jai if he had ever seen the tech tree at the center of Sanderberg, explaining that what they were seeing was just a surface-level functionality, because its main purpose was to seal the 36 ranked demons. With that explanation, the demonic aura Chelsea had sensed earlier now made sense. The officer continued, saying those demons were the origin of the predator outbreak, and Ji became thoughtful about that possibility. Miss Lu explained that if they could seal all ranked demons, the calamity might come to an end. With that, she said the world needed Ji because only demonic powers could fight demons. Our MC replied that he wasn't concerned about Earth's future. She asked if the contract with the demon had been orchestrated by her. He emphasized the seriousness of that question by calling her by her full name. Thinking they were on the same page, Chelsea asked Ji to kill her immediately, but Ji told her to shut up while he kept questioning Lu, saying everything that had happened was way too convenient for her to be a coincidence. That's when Lu replied that he had walked right into the trap, and our MC launched an attack at her, but if not for her spatial abilities, that attack would have killed her. Ji asked Chelsea to possess him due to the power suppression in the area. She got annoyed at being ordered around but obeyed. However, something unexpected happened to her. The demonist demanded that Lu release him immediately. The officer explained that this prison was still experimental. Ji complimented the results achieved by the research center, but while he was talking, something happened. Our MC had to dodge an attack instantly, but something felt off there, because our surgeon could no longer move. There was a third person in action, a girl with archery powers. that was Hezia, with exceptional skills just like G. Lu said the only time she had failed a mission was during the trafficking of those girls. That's when the MC remembered her. That's how he found out the organization had learned about his existence. Lu explained it had been impossible to tell she was faking because of the shadow demon. She went on to explain that the organization had been very impressed with G's powers. Our MC replied that she must be really confident to get so close to him like that. That's when Lu was caught off guard by his abilities. She had been wrapped up in his golden threads. Seeing that, Sia demanded that G release her immediately. Our surgeon wanted to negotiate the release of the demoness Chelsea. That put the archer girl in a tough position, so she finally decided to act. One of her arrows was deflected by G's abilities, but the other ended up freeing her companion. Shia had prioritized Lu's safety, but that left them in a complicated situation. However, Lu explained she was just testing G's abilities. Our dynamic duo didn't like that attitude of hers at all, and demanded that she get straight to the point. Even though the MC wasn't interested, Lu wanted him to lead the ability users with demon contracts. She tried to persuade him by saying the organization would provide intel and payment. Since both G's and the organization's target were the same, it sounded appealing. Lu mentioned the next target was at Tai Wei Lin Tower, and that there, Xia and G would meet the other 3 team members. Lu was pleased with the outcome because the perfect demon team was now formed. The scene immediately cuts to a square in the city of Santerberg, where a long-haired guy commented that the fluctuations were stable. Meanwhile, in another dark place, there was what seemed to be a boy walking among the rubble, stepping over predator corpses. In another scene, under the light of the blood moon, a punk-looking man laughed maniacally while holding a demon's head.